Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Learning Revolution Presents the Emergency Home Learning and More Summit. My name is Cindy Phthisic. I have been in education for over 30 years. I have 20 plus years experience of helping teachers integrate technology. I've been a classroom teacher, a district level instructional technologist, and I am currently the media coordinator in a middle school in Northeastern North Carolina. You can find me on Twitter at Ms. Tizzy and also online at teachingandtechmagic.com. Now, when COVID hit our district, we were just like everyone else. We tried to do the very best we could to provide remote instruction to our students. We learned many lessons and hopefully started this year with a better plan. We started from day one back in August with a hybrid model. We now have a little over half of our students attending school face to face, while the rest remain remote. Our teachers set up a Google Meet every day during their classes so that they can teach the remote learners the same way as they can their face to face. If this year marks your first experience with Google Classroom or any learning management system for that matter, I can imagine it was pretty challenging. Having to learn how to transform things into a digital format so that you could post in Classroom, how to create the post, how to organize things, how to grade, and then manage the multitude of notifications that you receive. Today, I want to share with you a few strategies to help you organize your Google Classroom to make it easier for your families to use and more efficient for you. We're going to cover three main points: creating a plan, organizing the content, and taming the chaos. While this presentation focuses on Google Classroom, the strategies that I cover can apply to pretty much any learning management system. So without further ado, let's begin. The first thing I want to talk about is creating a plan. You may want to grab a piece of paper for this part, especially to jot down a few notes, or have a section on your computer open so that you can type notes as we move along. Now, it works much better for our students when they understand how each week or each unit will flow. It helps to have set routines and procedures that students can follow in consistent places to find information. And that applies to whatever way you're teaching, whether it's face-to-face or remote. So when creating a plan, we need to look at a few things. I want you to write down your answers to the following questions. So our first question is, what important information do your students need to know on a regular basis? This could be things like your Google Meet codes, your syllabus, your contact information, rules and expectations for class, whether you're remote or face-to-face, anything that you provide for your students that they need to have or they need to be able to access on a regular basis. This information is going to get pinned at the top of your Google Classwork section. That way, students always know where to find it. The second set of questions revolves around, how do you normally organize your instruction? Do you set things up by week, by unit, or by something else? This will help us set up the topics inside of Google Classroom and under the Classwork tab. And the third section, or third set of questions I want you to answer, are, what are your weekly routines? What are the things already set in your schedule for the week? Do you always introduce new information on Mondays? Do you have quizzes on a certain day? Excuse me. Do you always give tests on Fridays? If you don't have set routines, you may want to consider adding it, especially while you're under remote learning, because routines make it easier for students and parents to know what's coming. And remote learning has been very daunting for families, especially those that have one or both parents working during the day. If parents have to try and figure out when you're going to have a quiz or when you're going to do this and when you introduce new words because you keep changing things up, it makes it very difficult. But if a parent knows that you always have your spelling test or vocabulary test on Friday, they need to remind their student to study. So having routines and knowing what to expect can really help students and families do better during remote learning. So I want you to take a few minutes and really think about these questions. Well, we don't necessarily have time right this minute. After we're done, really sit down and think about these things, because this will help you to better organize your content and help make things easier for your students. Now, if you're a self-contained class and teach all subjects, then the routine process you have more control over. But if you're a middle or high school teacher and you're teaching some of the same students as other teachers, you may want to collaborate with them a little bit, because the last thing you want to do to your students is have a routine set where every Friday they have 4 to 6 tests that they have to take, depending upon how many classes they have during the day. So reach across the hall, collaborate with your teammates or teachers who are teaching some of the same students, and try to schedule things out so that it's every other week you're given a test, or you may move your test to Wednesdays. Just try to make sure you're thinking of the students as well and not providing them every Friday with 4 to 6 tests. So now that you've thought about your plan, I want you to take a look at section number 2, and we're going to use that information from part 1 to actually organize your classroom. The first thing you need to do is gather your important information. Remember all that stuff that I talked about with that question, like your Google Meet code, your syllabus, any information that your students need on a regular basis? Well, make sure you have that in a format that can be loaded into your Google Classroom. And you're going to add that to your classwork and set up a topic that says important information or things from Ms. P or things you need to know, whatever you want to call it, but put everything that they have to know on a regular basis inside of that folder, and make sure that always stays at the top of your classwork tab. That way they don't have to keep scrolling down and trying to find it. It's always there at the top. Okay. The next thing is what we talked about for the set of questions for number 2. How do you organize your information? Do you plan weekly? Do you plan by unit? A lot of us tend to plan by the week, whether it's required by our administrators or whether that's just the logical progression. We plan by the week. So weekly topics make more sense sometimes. And so it's easier to organize the content. If you choose units or you choose some other type of topic, make sure that you can easily lay out the progression of how things will flow under that topic. For our purposes here, we're going to talk about weekly topics. So here is an example week. It's September 28th through October 2nd. I want you to pay attention to the topic to start off with. Notice I didn't put week of September 28th through October 2nd. I didn't add studying weather, September 28th through October 2nd. I put the date first, and there was a reason for that. When the topics display in the sidebar, you'll see just a snippet of what the name of the topic is. And so if you put the abbreviated dates there, then those will be the things that show up clearly in the sidebar, making it easier for students to find information. Now I could come back up here, September 28th through October 2nd, weather unit, or add whatever information there that I choose, but by having the date, it makes it easy to find. The next thing that you'll notice underneath the date is that I've listed things out by the day of the week. So on Monday, we're going to be given the vocabulary words, and there will be a story intro video. On Tuesday, you have to read pages 53 through 70. On Tuesday, you also have to answer some questions. On Wednesday, read pages 71 through 90. So I've laid things out by the day of the week so that students can easily know, okay, this is for Monday, this is for Tuesday, this is for Wednesday. Now, depending upon how you want your students to work, whether or not you mind them working ahead, you can post everything for the week at one time, or you can use the schedule feature inside of the post when you're creating an assignment or a material or a link. So when you're creating a new material assignment link, in the top right corner, you're going to notice a drop-down menu next to the word assign. You can click on schedule there. And from there, you can schedule whatever it is you're creating to appear on a specific date, as well as a specific time. So if you want your next day's assignments to appear at 7 o'clock that morning, then you can set Thursday, 7 a.m., and then everything will automatically appear. So that scheduling feature allows you a little flexibility so that you can work further ahead than what you are. Like if you are planning out a unit and you know it's going to be 2 weeks long, you can go ahead and lay things out. I caution you and make sure that if you're going to be working ahead, that you do use the scheduling feature, because students can get confused. If you're working ahead, they automatically think that the things that are at top are the newest information that they should be working on. And if you have put 2 weeks out at a time, they won't necessarily go back and work on the first week's information. So make sure you're using that scheduling feature. Now, the next thing you're going to notice about what I've included is you see some emojis. So what we do is for the current week, we put a star next to the current week so that students know that is the information you should be looking at for this week. If you use the Chrome browser, you can access the emoji keyboard through Edit, Emojis and Symbols. A little box will pop up that has all the emojis and symbols in there. You can choose the ones that you'd like to use. We'll use the star for the current week. Then you'll notice that Monday through Wednesday have little colored circles at the beginning. So using a red for Monday, orange for Tuesday, green and yellow for Wednesday, whatever color you choose, this also provides another visual cue for students to use. Some other things to look at. I had a video lesson. I used the video camera to designate that it was a video lesson. Or I can use a check mark or 100% to show that it's a graded assignment. You can use an asterisk. But I do caution you, because just like any good thing, too much of it can be too much. So make sure that you're very purposeful in selecting emojis to use in your classroom, that it really does serve a purpose to provide visual cues to help students be able to find information better. Now, younger students may have a little bit of trouble trying to work through the layout of a Google Classroom. And so some of my younger elementary teacher friends are using a week at a glance. And what they do is they set up everything in Google Classroom just like you normally would, but they have this template for a week at a glance that they either post on their web page or they can post it in the stream of their classroom. But instead of sending them directly to the classwork part of a Google Classroom, they send them to this template. And everything that's linked here links back to the assignment. So if they have questions for a reading passage, they can click on that. It takes it to the questions that then they can answer those questions right from there. Then with the reading passage, it takes them directly to the reading passage or directly to the list of vocabulary words. It just depends upon your students and what way you think will work better. But I did include this template along with the presentation that I'll have linked at the end of the presentation so that you can access it. Now we've created a plan, we've organized our information. The last thing we need to do is tame the chaos, because you may have noticed that Google Classroom sends out a lot of notifications. There are notifications for your stream, there are notifications in your email. And so those can be just a little bit overwhelming for yourself and for your students. So let's look at how we can manage those a little bit better. The first is taming your stream. Now, I like to reserve my stream in any classroom for important information. I don't like to have it show that new assignments have been posted. I don't necessarily allow students to create post or comment. I like to keep the stream nice and neat. So to fix this, inside of your Google Classroom, you click on the gear icon for settings. So click on the settings icon, scroll down to stream. If you only want the teacher to be able to post, if you don't want students to post, set it so only teachers can post. And if you don't want new classwork, new assignments posted in your stream, next to where it says classwork settings, click hide notifications. And that will clean up your stream and make it nice and neat. The next thing is tame your email. If you teach 200 students and they all submitted their assignments, you know exactly what your inbox is going to look like if you didn't turn off the notifications for Classroom. It is full of notifications from Google Classroom saying students turned in the assignment. So you can fix that and set it so that it only gives you specific notifications. To do that, you need to move to your main classes page so that you can see all the classes that you teach. You're going to click on the 3 lines that are in the top left, scroll down and click on settings. If it has notifications on, you can turn off specific things, like if you don't want a notification whenever a student leaves a comment, you can turn that off. If you want the notifications when students turn in assignments, you can leave those on. Or if you don't want any notifications whatsoever, you can say turn off all notifications. I'll tell you, for students, especially middle school and lower, I would turn off all the notifications. That way they have to go to their Google Classroom to see the information, and it doesn't fill up their inbox just like it does yours. Now, there is a way that if you do want to receive those email notifications, you can set up a filter inside of your Gmail so that they don't overrun your inbox. And to set up a filter inside of Gmail, this is what you need to do. You're going to open Gmail, click on the gear for settings in the top right, click on see all settings in that quick menu bar that shows up. Then you're going to click on filters and blocked addresses. Click create a new filter that's at the bottom of that box. In the from box, I want you to type at classroom.google.com. This means that any email that comes from Google Classroom will have this filter applied to it. Then click on create filter. Don't click search. You may have to start the process over again. Click create filter. A box will appear. When that box appears, I want you to click skip inbox and then click apply label. And from the down arrow that pops up in the box next to it, click create a new label. Then you're going to set up a label that says Google Classroom or Classroom Notifications, whatever you want that folder to be called, and click create a filter. Then there will be a check somewhere in there that says apply this filter to all emails from at classroom.google.com that are currently in your inbox. And you want to make sure you check that so that the filter will be applied to those as well. And just like magic, anything that has classroom.google.com will automatically be labeled whatever you name that label, and it will be taken out of your inbox and put in the folder that was just created on the left-hand side. And you can go in there and check all the emails from Google Classroom, and they won't appear in your inbox. That's kind of my favorite tool to use, because there are some notifications that I like, but I don't want them to overrun my inbox. If I can create a filter and just go check that folder whenever I need to, that makes it a lot simpler. So we've tamed our stream, we've tamed our email notifications, and we've created a filter in Gmail for those things that we wanted to keep. The final part of taming the chaos is to create a tutorial video for your students and their families and teach them how to navigate your classroom. You can use a tool like Screencastify, to help create this video. It's a free extension, and I forgot exactly the time limit, but it allows you to create a short tutorial video that will easily walk them through your classroom. So that is all the information that I have. It is your turn. You can go out and take this information, take the questions and create your plan. Look at how you have things organized. Think about using some of the visual cues. Tame your inbox, tame your stream. And the main part of this is to streamline things for yourself and for your students to make it easier for them to access the information and turn it into you. So I hope you've gained some valuable information from this. You can find me, and if you have questions, you can DM me at Miss Tizzy on Twitter. And a copy of the presentation, as well as a copy of the Week at a Glance template, can be found at teachingandtechmagic.com. Have a great day.